I'm the founder of Zentral Strategies. And it's funny that we are here today at an accounting finance show, business show, and yet I'm going to be telling you everything about that. Numbers are not the most important thing. So here we are. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you the key differentiation strategy for you to be differentiated from your competitors, and then it's not numbers. So the first thing I would actually like to pose a question for all of you. What does success mean for you? If you just think a little bit about that, and you think of the word success, is it a number that's coming up for you? How many zeros? Well, we always talk about numbers has to do with success. So if I'm going to just tell you my success in terms of numbers, then I've been an executive coach consultant that has helped CEOs to have revenue boosts of more than 50%. My NPS score with my clients as a CEO is 90.63. I've led more than 200 coaches in 1 year. And I have also been a sales consultant that have done 1 million sales in less than a year, as well as a corporate consultant. These are my numbers, but this is also something you see on anyone's CV. This is just the CV. How many of you guys actually interviewed people or been part of an interview before? Tell me. Right? So, here's the thing. It is anyone's success because it's brandable, replaceable, and repeatable. That means that it's just numbers. So if you remove my face and put anyone's face that comes to the interview, you'll be like, that person I want to hire. But how many of you hired someone and you think, oh my God, they have better experience? And 3 weeks later, he became an asshole, she became an asshole, and you're like, oh my God, now my white hair growing. And you know what? That's the reason why mental health is such a big problem right now. So success in business is often just a matter of hitting the right numbers, if not pushing it even higher. And that's a common business fallacy. What happens then if we are only numbers driven? We tend to be short-term oriented. We tend to be very reactive. We tend to be undifferentiated. We tend to be stuck in business and busyness, right? So, let me share with you a story of this girl. She used to work at a fashion e-commerce, and this girl, every day when she goes to work, she opens her laptop and all she looks at is graphs. A weekly revenue graph. And this revenue graph will show is it red or green. If it's red, what's going to happen is she has to push discounts. When you push discounts, what happens? You drive growth, you drive revenue, you drive number of goods sold. And if it's green, she has to stop some of the discounts because she wants to protect profit. Week over week, her performance is based on just that. And she has to react very quickly to the market and react to all her competitors' prices. And the fashion company is only differentiated with the other company through the prices that they put online. And it creates a routine every week, being stuck in the business, stakeholder meetings, and talking about how can we push sales or how can we break on sales. And instead of doing business, you are in a busyness situation, right? And this girl is me. I was there, and when COVID hits, I sit in my room in front of a TV, in front of my laptop, and I have to push the same red or the green color charts. And I look around and I thought, why am I selling clothes and shoes every day like this? What is the purpose behind this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? How many of you have some form of rude awakening during COVID? Right? Remember those stuff, those times. And I realized I'm more than that. I value freedom of choices. I value purpose, long-term purpose. Everything we do needs to have intention and purpose. I value experience in life.
And I value growth. I believe that every single one of you, if we become a better version of ourselves every day, our reality will grow as fast as we are. So that is me, not my numbers. So numbers are important. I'm not telling you that numbers are not, right? This is not the whole purpose. But we need to know the role of numbers, which means we need to let numbers be the reflection of the values created. What does that mean? It means that if you are a leader, a business owner, let numbers show that everything you do is the success story of why you do what you do. So, as I promised, I'm going to talk a little bit of this one key differentiation strategy. And that is, instead of going after number-driven objectives, what we can really do is to focus on value-driven objectives, which means that everything you do, you lead with purpose, with an objective. Why am I pushing the sales today? What is the reason behind that? What is the bigger why? What is the value I'm going to deliver from doing that? Whether it's pushing sales, increasing stock price, all the numbers, you name it, right? Followers, sales quotas, doesn't matter. Why are you doing that? What problem are you really solving? And let them back it up with the numbers that you are really chasing after. So let me tell you a story of one of my clients, Grimreisen. They are a German company that they do bus tour in Germany, and they cater specifically to audiences between 60 to 80-year-olds. So imagine there's the granny and the granddad, 70-year-old, wanting to take a bus tour and going on a holiday. And the company, my client, actually sent private taxi to come and pick them up from their door before they even start the holidays. And they bring them all the way to the first class bus, where they get greeted by a very warm tour guide that offers them champagne and a little homemade local delicacy. And they get on board and they sit there, and that's their first class experience starts. All the way end to end, having exclusivity and amazing experiences till the end. And when they go home, you know what Germans like to do? They like to complain. So Singaporeans are not the only one that likes to complain, but Germans do as well. And when they complain about anything, right? Even if the experience is maybe truly first class. But my client don't stop there. The team, no matter what is it, they will send a chocolate or another bottle of champagne just to tell them, we hear you. Thank you for your feedback. So what is the value of this company, if you can think about it? It's quality, it's experience, excellence, and it's harmony. Harmony created within the team and with their audiences. So which industry actually get hit the most during COVID, if you think about it? When everyone is locked in the house and can't travel, it is the tourism industry. And of course, they suffered. But unlike many other tourism companies that had to shut down and stop and cease their company and business, they thrived. They survived and they thrived afterwards because all their customers want to come back. And their revenue increased to almost 40% the first year compared to pre-COVID. That is how strong and powerful when your customers are loyal because they have a strong purpose and why. Everything is driven by values. So how do you actually set value-driven objectives? Well, I'm going to give you 5 unconventional principles that you don't really see from the textbook. The first one is solve real problems and make your mission your compass, which means every decision you make, that is the compass I'm going to, and let the numbers reflect it. Let me tell you another example of Patagonia. How many of you have heard of this brand? It's an outdoor apparel brand. And in 2000s, right? The founder realized they're in a dog-eat-dog industry. Every outdoor apparel, North Face, Columbia, you name it, or in the fashion industry, they're trying to get a piece of the pie. So everyone is looking at numbers. How am I going to increase my revenue? So what did they do? They decided that's not our purpose. We need to look beyond that. We are in a business to save our home planet. In 2008, they changed their mission to that. So Patagonia starts to set a purpose beyond their profit. So everything they do, it was based on purpose. It was no longer profit-driven. Guess what else did they do based on these principles? They have initiated a 1% for the planet initiative, which means out of all their revenue, they would donate 1% to grassroots environmental groups. So over the years, they have donated over 140 million to grassroots, right? They have reached 1 billion revenue in 2017. They have an average growth of 15% between 2008 to 2019, far beyond what the average industry of outdoor apparel is doing. And they have a net promoter score amongst their clients and their customers at a 60. And that's very high in the fashion industry. And here I'm showing you that these are numbers, right? These are all numbers, but they are success numbers that reflected very well the purpose why the company is doing what they're doing. And that is the third principle I want to bring. We need to stay true and act within our value zone. So just like my client Grimm, they had a value zone of quality, excellence, harmony, and everything they do, they act within it. What did Patagonia did to act within it? They're selling clothes, right? So the more the better, the more the revenue, isn't it? But they had a program called One Wear program, where they want to help to repair and reuse the new purchases instead of going for reuse, instead of going for new purchases. This has led Patagonia to actually repair more than 130,000 garments in 2019 alone. And because of this initiative, what happened is that they actually have a 30% of customer retention. The customers now know why they want to go back. Another thing, what do we like to do during Black Friday, Cyber Week? We like to shop for nonsense and things we do not need, right? Who's guilty of that? Absolutely, me too. So, but Patagonia is not going the same e-commerce way. They had a campaign during Black Friday that says, don't buy this jacket. Basically discouraging any necessary purchases during Black Friday. Maybe they have not seen a huge increase in Black Friday sales, but in the following year, they saw a 40% sales increase. And this is because people start to understand why Patagonia is the place I want to go, because it connects to my purpose. Let me tell you another story of another client of mine who's in Sardinia. She's a tour agency as well. But before that, imagine you are going to Sardinia for an Italian trip and you want to go on a tour. And you look on TripAdvisor, get your guide, and you see, oh my God, there's 691 tickets and tours available. How am I going to choose? And you browse and you browse and you see everyone offers the same. Snorkeling trip, island hopping, hiking experience. How many of you find that it increases decision fatigue? Like, I don't know, okay, I'm going to just pick this one, right? And you don't want to be the company behind it and be like, okay, people are just choosing me out of I don't know. You want them to know why they're choosing you. So she asked me, how am I going to differentiate? I'm trying different ways. So what I help her to do is just to ask a simple question. And you can ask that for yourself as well. And the question is, okay, imagine yourself in 3 years from now. and you do not have any limitation or any constraints, any restraints from money, time, resources. How can you envision and what do you vision you bringing the experience for your customers? What would you like them to say at the end of any trip or experience with you? And she said, I want them to feel rejuvenated because Sardinia is a blue zone. I love my home and I want to show people that when they come here, they get wellness, they get rejuvenated. And the people I want to target are people who are burnout, stressed. And I'm like, how many of these 691 people are actually offering that? And the answer is 0. No one is writing that in their messaging, in their marketing. And that's how she stands out. And that leads me to the fourth principle, which is, if we are building from constraints, every day we look at numbers and we want to hit a target without thinking out of the box. Isn't numbers, in a way, constraints? Because numbers set constraints, targets, right? All of that. And what it takes away is us building from creativity, a zone where you build strategy. The difference between strategy and planning is planning from constraints and resources, where strategy has to be coming from creativity. How do you stand out? Now, I want to lead us to a little game. And this really participate, yeah? How many of you here actually have an iPhone? Okay, let's say half of you. And look at this. The feature of Apple and Samsung, or let's say any Android, Samsung is almost identical. If not, I would say Samsung is slightly better. It has 2 hours more battery life, isn't it? So show me the hands again, all the iPhone holders. How many of you would switch to Samsung? Oh, now the hands all disappear. How many of you are Samsung or let's say Android holders? And given the same, how many of you will switch to Apple? Just one. Right. But it's exactly the same. Why don't you want to switch? Why are you tied to Apple or Samsung or whatever other brands you are having? And that is because it's not about the features. It's not about the what, right? It is about what the brand stands for me. To be honest, when I did this slide, I'm like, okay, I'm a hardcore Apple fan, yeah? I have been having Apple when Apple is still in the single digits, maybe Apple 1, iPhone 1, I don't know what's it called back then. And if anyone is like asking me to change it to Android phone, I'm like defensive. No, I don't want. And if my husband is going to change to Android, I would be like, no, we're going to divorce because we can no longer airdrop each other anything. And actually the reason is way beyond that. You feel tied to the brand because of a story you tell yourself about the brand. Apple says, think different. And I think I'm different, so I like to think different. And maybe that's why I get tied to Apple. And what about you guys? If you dig deeper, the companies are not sharing with you features or the prices or the what's because they are not trying to be logical with your brain when you try to purchase something. They're speaking to your heart. They're making you think less and feel more when you purchase anything. Every decision we make when we buy something is emotional. Well, almost all, right? So why don't we do that in business and when we are trying to promote and market? Why don't we speak to their heart? Why do we want to talk numbers again and again and features? No one cares. I will never change to Samsung. Sorry. So the key benefit of having value-driven objectives is one clear thing, and that is long-term sustainable growth. You see stronger resilience during COVID times, like my client Grim. You see Apple gaining competitive advantage over many, many other companies that try to grab a piece of the pie. You see Patagonia making better decisions within their value zones, enhancing and increasing customer loyalty and employee engagement. So how many of you think it's important? to have value. Right? We know it's important to have a purpose on why we do what we do, but why don't people do it? Why don't people do it? Very simple, because you have to wait. And maybe not. Patagonia see great success in the next 10 years, running from 2008 to 2019. Growth is not linear, it's exponential. So it means that you do not see the short-term wins, like focusing on targets, but you will reap off the amazing benefit of long-term exponential growth. And the second thing is there's a lack of alignment, right? When the leader knows why they're doing, does your employee knows, does your sales team knows, does your marketing head knows. So do you guys actually have a coherent messaging that convey the why to so many people? And also third, how do you start? How do many companies actually start? So a very simple way that I will help you guys is instead of a financial audit, you all do that, right? Accounting, companies, finance. I graduated from finance back then as well. But we need to conduct a value audit, which means we need to ask ourselves, do we have an action guiding framework of why we are doing what we are doing? Every single initiative you have, projects, actions, why are you doing it? So what? So that what? If you all reach to an alignment of one purpose, that's great, because that means you're aligned. And what about regular alignment touchpoints with your employees? What are your employees and your teams tied to in terms of KPIs? Do they understand the meaning behind the KPIs? That numbers are merely a reflection of the values and the purpose, so that none of the employees will be like me. When they sit behind the computer, they are like, why am I doing this? They feel a deeper purpose to work with you. And lastly, customers' perception. And that is simply, do you have a feedback or any NPS form where you understand if customers truly perceive your brand the way you want it to be? The CEO of Starbucks once said, when you're surrounded by people who share a passionate commitment around common purpose, anything is possible. It's like the Marvel's Avenger team, right? When you share a single purpose, no matter if you have differences within, you try to strive for the best. And this is exactly what we do as Zenturo Strategists. We help companies to really craft purpose-driven strategies to keep them accountable in the long term for sustainable growth, because selfishly, it's for my own purpose. My purpose in life is I want to foster transformative experiences for the end clients and customers, and also to ensure a sustainable future for our planet, wildlife, communities, and future generation. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Go beyond numbers, find your why. I recommend a book called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. And Scan to Connect. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer. And also, if you would like to talk about how to do a value audit, we can have a chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Susan, for